All right, let's jump right in. Today's explainer is all about the specific reviews, signatures, and approvals you absolutely need to know to crush the Series 6 exam. And hey, a quick shout out, this explainer is brought to you by CertFuel. They've got a full Series 6 course with adaptive study quizzes, smart flashcards, and unlimited practice exams weighted just like the real thing, so definitely check them out at certfuel.com. Now, to make these super dry compliance rules actually stick in your brain, we're going to follow a story. Meet our cast of characters: Cora the customer, Rita the rep, and Sam the supervisor. Literally every rule we talk about today traces back to one main idea. A specific named person has to take responsibility for an action. Let's see how it plays out.
Picture this. Cora wants to open a brand new account with Rita the rep. But before anyone signs anything, Rita has to play detective and follow the customer account information rule. This means gathering all the essential facts. First, Rita completes the Customer Identification Program, or CIP. Then, she's got to document all the Know Your Customer, KYC, essential facts to capture Cora's true suitability profile. Finally, Rita must deliver all the required disclosures, like Regulation Best Interest, which you'll see as Reg BI, Form CRS, and any relevant prospectuses. Now, lock this big number in your brain, 26. If Cora is opening this account to buy investment company products, like mutual funds or maybe variable contracts products, a Series 26 principal has to do the product-specific review. Basically, that's an appropriately registered principal looking directly at the exact product Cora is buying to make sure it makes sense.
But wait, pause the explainer right here. Pop quiz. Think about this for a second. We know a Series 26 principal reviews the specific product, but who actually signs Cora's general new account acceptance record to officially open the account and prove the firm's written supervisory procedures were followed? Is it Sam, the supervisor? Got your answer locked in? Let's check. Boom, exam trap! Did you guess a registered principal? If you did, you just fell for the single most reversed fact in this entire unit. Listen closely. Under the Customer Account Information Rule, the general new account acceptance record must be signed by a partner, officer, or manager, absolutely not a registered principal. This signature just confirms the firm's written supervisory procedures for account opening were actually followed. And remember, this applies whether Cora opens the account in person, by mail, or online. Let's move to the next phase of Cora's life and see how this builds, because supervision definitely doesn't stop once the account is open. Fast forward a bit. Cora gets married, changes her last name, and she wants to update her account. Here's another question for you. Pause the explainer. Can Rita the rep just leave a quick summary slip on Sam the supervisor's desk for him to just rubber stamp the name change? No way. Under the Customer Account Records Rule, you can't just change an account name or designation based on a simple summary slip. Step 2 here is the absolute key. Rita has to personally inform Sam, who is a qualified, registered principal in this scenario, of the essential facts. Just picture Rita having to sit down and verbally explain Cora's sudden Vegas wedding to Sam. Sam cannot just rubber stamp a sticky note. He must have actual knowledge of why the name is changing before he documents his approval in writing. So later on, Cora gets super busy and wants Rita to just trade automatically for her. Well, this triggers the discretionary authority rule, and this brilliantly illustrates a strict two-part test. You literally cannot have one without the other. First, the firm needs Cora's prior written authorization. Second, you need the firm's written acceptance before anyone exercises discretion. But who actually provides that firm acceptance? Think about the exact wording of the rule: the member, or a duly designated partner, officer, or manager. Notice who is missing from that list. It doesn't say registered principal. That exact same partner, officer, or manager who accepts the account must also approve every single discretionary order promptly. They're watching every move Rita makes with Cora's money. As the years go by, Cora updates her account profile. Let's break down a crucial comparison you do not want to mix up. A trusted contact is exactly what it sounds like. Someone who can be reached if the firm has concerns, but they have absolutely zero authority to transact. Contrast that with a power of attorney, or POA. A power of attorney grants actual written authority to act and transact on the account. Totally different roles, so keep them straight. And speaking of Cora getting older, let's talk about the Senior Investor Protection Rule. If Rita ever reasonably believes that financial exploitation has occurred, is occurring, or is even being attempted against Cora, who now qualifies as a specified adult, the firm can invoke this rule. They can literally place a temporary hold on a disbursement or transaction from her account as long as it's approved consistent with the firm's written supervisory procedures.
All right, let's look at a totally absurd scenario. Imagine Sam the supervisor gets audited because a massive customer complaint slipped through the cracks. Sam throws his hands up in the air and says, "Hey, I didn't see the complaint. My mailroom clerk reviewed it." Is that a valid defense under the rules for correspondence and internal communications?
Exam trap alert. The answer is a hard no. The firm must have procedures for the review of written and electronic correspondence by a registered principal, and it must be evidenced in writing. Now, Sam is absolutely allowed to delegate the mechanical review, like literally opening and sorting the mail, to non-registered staff. But the ultimate responsibility? That stays permanently glued to Sam, the registered principal. You cannot delegate the liability.
And Sam's job doesn't end there either. A registered principal must evidence in writing their review of all transactions across both customer accounts and employee accounts. What exactly are they looking for? They are hunting for insider trading, front-running, and any manipulative or suspicious trading. If they spot a questionable trade, it triggers a prompt internal investigation. Okay, let's jump back to Cora. Time to test your grasp on ongoing account maintenance. Pause the explainer again. Cora decides to travel abroad for a few months. She submits a proper written request to hold her mail, and the firm follows its procedures. Does the firm stop generating her account statements during this time?
The answer is absolutely no. A firm may hold Cora's mail for a stated period per their procedures, but a held mail arrangement never, ever removes the firm's duty to actually send statements at the required frequency. A firm can never just decide on its own to withhold mandatory statements.
All right, we have covered a ton of ground today, tracing Cora's account from opening all the way to ongoing maintenance. Let's shift into high gear. Get ready to lock in the top testable points for exam day with a rapid-fire recap. First up, who signs the general new account acceptance record to prove procedures were followed? A partner, officer, or manager, not a principal. Number 2, who approves a change in an account name or designation? A qualified, registered principal who has been personally informed of the essential facts. Absolutely no rubber stamps allowed. Third, what's the strict 2-part test for discretionary authority? Prior written authorization from the customer, plus written acceptance from the firm, specifically a member, partner, officer, or manager. Fourth, can a principal delegate the mechanical review of correspondence? Yes, they can, but they remain 100% responsible for it. So the absolute crucial point here is knowing exactly who is responsible for what. I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought. Which of these roles, partner, manager, or principal, are you most likely to mix up when that test timer is ticking down? Figure out your weak spot right now, go back through this explainer, and lock those definitions in before test day. You've got this.